creativity of this piece. We have students writing songs, students rapping, students coming up with their own lyrics, students writing the scenes, some students are choreographing. So it's a whole collaboration between myself, other instructors, and students. So the students came up with some of the themes and things that they wanted to address that deals with their life versus us getting a prepackaged musical that really didn't deal with students in an urban setting. And it would also allow more students to be a part of it because they're talking about a student's life. So it's talking about the senior life, the last year of high school of seniors, and all the things, some of the difficulties and conflicts and challenges, friendships, and from these difficulties that they experience, they find within themselves that some of the experiences are really not so different, that they really share experiences, and it creates the power of one. That's the core, the power of one.
This point in my journey in my life right now has been developed, impacted by many wonderful people that I've met along the way in my life who taught me a sense of work ethic, who honored me, who affirmed me, who challenged me, who pushed me, who didn't settle for less than my best. And as much as I've worked myself, it's not, I stand on the shoulders of other people who gave me strength and inspired me and motivated me to be the best that I can be. So it is definitely not of my own doing. My training has come from a varied backgrounds. Because I'm kind of a musical theater guy, the dancing, singing, and acting, all three of those skills have kind of been a part of my artistry. And I started really late, actually, dancing, and really even looking at my art or my skills and talent seriously. I mean, I didn't really start dancing until college. You know, I did some things in high school, but it was just natural, dance and do your thing, you know. In my artistic journey, once kind of the turning point was, and I say this all, the turning point for me is when I came back home to East St. Louis and took a class with Archie Savage at the Catherine Dunham Center for Performing Arts Training Center, which was established by Catherine Dunham. And the whole experience of the drums and the acting classes and the whole cultural focus of the program just captured me. It spoke to me. I mean, it really spoke to my sensibilities. And I was able to get a lot of training in all disciplines, in singing, in acting, and dancing, and it prepared me for a great career in New York, and traveled the world extensively, doing what I love to do, working with incredible directors and choreographers in my career, many of which have become like models for how I even approach my art, how I teach, which is said to be kind of tough love, kind of discipline, but caring at the same time. And some of my instructors and teachers and mentors that really, really influenced my life and just how I move through the world, so to speak, has really, really been incredible. And here I am at Grand Center Arts Academy now, after having had an incredible professional career, wanting to just share what I've learned along the way with as many students and the community as possible. The first thing that comes to mind as one of my proudest moments was being able to, this is prior to me moving to New York City, being able to perform at Carnegie Hall. They did a performance, Katherine Dunham received the Albert Schweitzer Award, Humanitarian Award. And there were 3 generations of Dunham dancers and artists that attended. And I might have been 19 or something like that, and I was able to go to Carnegie Hall. But what made it even a prouder moment for me is that I was able to afford at that time to pay for my mother to go to New York and see me perform in Carnegie Hall. I guess one of the proud moments too was my first Broadway show. It was a proud moment because I know many people who aspire to do that never have a chance to make that. And that, again, my mom and my family all were able to come and see me open in my first Broadway show and subsequent Broadway shows after that. So those are very proud moments for me. Teaching, and again, I teach dance and I teach acting classes too, and musical theater, so I'm kind of across the board. What is it like? It's healing for me. That's the first thing. I kind of go with my first. It's healing in the sense that it's rewarding, in the sense that you see these young people beginning to come into themselves, to affirm themselves, to touch a part of themselves that they perhaps never even thought of revealing that part of themselves. Incorporating their lives into their art empowers them, and to see them gradually become open to receiving that, and to see the empowerment that they get in their art as they discover how it can really bring about change in their lives. And then the other part that when I think about teaching at GCAA Dance or Theater is when I see young people creating and becoming positive contributors to that community that's happening in classes. Of seeing them support each other and encourage each other. That's special about GCAA. Because sometimes you know, in classes, you know, it can be kind of competitive. But in GCA, and it happens other places too, but that's one of the things that stands out in GCA, just that sense of community, that sense of just encouragement that they give each other, and just watching them just develop their artistic voice. Art is a mirror, can be a mirror of life, and I always say that when I'm creating works, I'm thinking of things to do, there are certain things that I do that are quite entertaining. But I feel that my art can be a response to things, current issues, things that are going on in our community. And I think building that sense of community where our art can speak to social justice, impacts a community. I think it's valuable for the community to see the artists reflect the change that they want to see. And I think it's not necessarily a major responsibility for us. It's organic to me. If I want my community to be a better community, then why can't I create pieces of work, either dance or theater or monologues, that speaks to helping that healing to take place in the community? I think if we are desiring to see a better world, a better community for our young people at GCAA and anywhere for that matter, we have to continue that struggle and that fight for social justice. I mean, I think that's part of what makes America a wonderful place, is that we are always striving to make this place a better place. And sometimes it takes a boldness and a courage to speak about certain things. One of the things that I think I was charged with upon being hired by Lynn Glickert was creating systems and infrastructure. Because it was expressed to me that they wanted GCAA to be a well-respected program, not only citywide, statewide, but nationally. And with that being said, because we did not have a complete 4-year, all 4 grades, 10th, 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, the challenge was to create a sequential curriculum, you know, that had prerequisites and just developed and took the students through strategic development as they took their courses. That's been one of the major goals, and we've got that together now. Other things that are like kind of crowning moments was the opening of this Sun Theater. The opening of this Sun Theater is an incredible achievement for a school in 4 to 5 years that started in a church. And that just, you know, with Susan Uchitel's vision and Lynn Glicker's vision, to see this incredible space that most high schools or colleges don't have spaces this nice, that these young students here can have this kind of incredible, it's sacred. This is a sacred space. This is where our artists develop. And this to me was a kind of crowning jewel, because I think the students, once they got here, they realized and thought, this is really, really serious. You know, and we began to see a more serious approach to students' work, that they valued what they were learning. They valued the challenges, and they understood the process. They didn't want to just jump from A to Z. They knew that it was a process to develop your artistic voice, and that's what we're beginning to see. And I think that's a very crowning moment for me. What does it take for a student to gain a leading role in a GCAA performance? Well, they have to have the grades. They have to be academically sound. That's like a requirement, because if we don't have that component to it, then what message are we sending our students that are artists? What, you don't have to be a well-read artist? No, you have to be well-read. Work ethic, which takes care of your academic, they have to have a passion. Typically, somebody that's being presented into a leading role is probably a team player. They are definitely one that would encourage their peers. I think they have to have a drive and a thirst for growth, which is fundamental for any artist, because if you can't have that perspective of every opportunity that I have to grow is beneficial to me. I think the other part that would allow a GCAA student to have a leading role is that, I think I might have said it, just that thirst and hunger, you know, and the work ethic, the willingness. The other thing, this is very, very important, the willingness and the ability to take constructive criticism. Critical as an artist, because in a leading role, you're going to always have a director or a choreographer that has a vision about a character's development that might not necessarily be that student's own, but they're willing to take that constructive criticism, because that in turn lets the director or the choreographer know that that student is moldable, that they can be molded. And that is a critical tenet, if you will, for anyone aspiring to be a professional in this business. Because if you can't take constructive criticism, when you're auditioning, the director or choreographer cannot see that they can shape and develop this character. So I think work ethic, team player, academics, open to constructive criticism, those are essential things for a student to be a lead player in a GCAA production. One of the fundamental things that's happened over the years is that we have made a pact with each other that for the first year that we would just really develop the culture of our programs and not have a lot of outsiders coming in, because we knew we needed to really get the foundation of our program and get the students acclimated to work ethic, to being responsible. And I think that's happened over the years. What's happened in terms of the development of programs over the years is not only the students' technical development, and what you're starting to see is that sense of ownership and passion in their dance, and not just in their dance, even in theater, in terms of them, you know, understanding characters and being more passionate and committed to them. But also we're able to, in the years, is to add more dimensions to our performances. Lighting, costuming, and the technical aspects are critical. And I think what we've seen over the years is a shift in those areas. To have lighting, proper lighting, and proper sound, and costumes to really, really help create that world of that experience is really, really important. And I look at the students now and just see their technical development, their passion, their artistic voice, you know, they're just really becoming more sound. But again, those other elements that are critical, now we're seeing dance concerts that are fully costumed. You know, we're seeing our theater showcases. The black box is becoming more well structured. And in April, we will have our probably first theater production on main stage. So that's a growth. You know, usually before everything was held in the black box with limited support from in terms of a technical or lighting aspect. But now we're starting to see them really take on a kind of a more professional kind of environment, if you will. The new young talent, woo! That's the challenge, baby. I mean, there is some awesome talent in 6th, 7th grade. I think that's probably one of the most challenging areas, I think. Because, you know, it comes with the territory of middle schoolers. You know, they're kind of all over the place, have not yet begun to see this as a respectable craft. So I think the challenge is, you know, how do you kind of, you know, render this teaching and instruction to them where they can have fun, but yet it's perceived and looked at as something, this is really, really serious. And I think as the culture of the departments has improved and the students begin to see their peers performing at a level that's like, wow, they're really serious and they're really good, but they weren't always that good. They're growing. They're growing, and look at how they've grown in a year. We have some really great students in middle 6th and 7th grade. And I think as we continue to train and shape and mold our high schoolers and find as many opportunities where middle schoolers get the chance to showcase their work at whatever levels they can at middle school, and then they see the older students and they can aspire to be at that level, and that has to do with creating that culture, that sense of stand-up excellence that is so high, regardless of where the students are. We set the bar high, so they have to work hard to get there, not dumbing things down to make them mediocre. That is not a part of our philosophy. Mediocrity is not. So again, we have a great talent base of middle schoolers. We just have to keep them focused and give them the opportunity to, I think, to perform it whenever we can, because they need to kind of see, kind of get a sense of their potential as well. Versus just being in class, taking classes, they need to showcase their talent.
What have they taught you?
Wow. The first thing is patience. Patience, I can definitely say that. They've taught me patience. They've taught me humility. Because I think sometimes with the desire to elevate a program, I have to remember that they are high schoolers, but at the same time, not settle for mediocrity. So patience is definitely something that my students have taught me. They've taught me to look into their world because I'm much older. So I have to look through the lens, not only through my lens, but I have to look through their lens, what their world is, what their experiences are. They've taught me a great deal about the potential for not just for the St. Louis community, the potential for the world. When I see diverse cultures at this school interacting and caring for each other and supporting each other, of engaging with each other in very affirming, caring, compassionate ways, that teaches me what the potential of the world. And so much when we talked about social justice earlier, that's in essence of what those who fight and struggle for social justice want to see. You know, they want to see our young people take on the cause for humanity, but be very, very, very observant and aware of the cultural significance that each of them has. And that's really an incredible thing to see at GCAA. And I think I'm hoping and praying that there's more of it to come as we get other students to come to GCAA, that it will remain a very diverse, sharing community, that the students through their art can share with our community, with the St. Louis community, just how art can change the world, how arts can really impact lives and communities. The Ties That Bind, the piece that we performed for the Black History American History celebration, is one of my babies. That's truly a very special work for me. Some friends who know me say it is my footprint. It is my footprint to leave the world. But the piece that you saw, The Ties That Bind, is the actual title of the greater work. That's only one number of this work that is comprised of about 15 works. It's a whole evening. It's a whole evening of theater. And it actually came about as I've just traveled and lived life and grown to understand the complexity of the country that we live in, the world that we live in, the ways in which we are all bound together. We're all bound together. And even though some experiences, cultural experiences, may be different, and some place at the core of it is some sense of humanity. And as I looked at my own history, I was thinking about some of the challenges that are present in the African American community. And then I looked at how I was raised, and I thought about the powerful legacy, the strong, powerful, royal, regal legacy that I come from in terms of my African American ancestry. And I thought about my great-grandparents who graduated from college in 1888, which was 23 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And I was just spellbound. I said, how did they do it? How did they do it under those adverse conditions? And then how can a young person now not see that they come from this powerful legacy? And that kind of catapult, if you will, into a bigger picture. And the bigger picture, which you didn't see it in that one number, is how violence has crippled our communities across the board, globally, and the need for healing in our communities. And when you come see the entire piece, hopefully we'll do it here in this theater, February of 2016, you will see the entire work that I've been working on. So I was back to the question, I was totally moved, enthralled, inspired, spiritually moved, emotionally moved by the performance by the Grand Center Arts Academy students. I mean, I only had basically 3 rehearsals with them. I rehearsed that piece with my company, which is Intervision Dance Theater, for 5 or 6 months. So, but they did the entire work. But for them to be that young and to own that kind of work that had that subject matter to deal with, and something that they did not experience within their lifetime, but it has cultural, historical significance, was mind-blowing. But I knew that once they got into it, because we kind of talked about the relevance and the subject of what the piece dealt with, I knew that they would own it. And I knew that it would touch them spiritually while they were doing the piece. And that's exactly what's happening. Once the drumming started and they really start telling the story, and I think that's one of the things that I really aspire to always do at a high level within my work, is to be a storyteller. And that the storytelling is clear, poignant, but it provokes thought. And so it leaves the audience the opportunity to think for themselves, what is the relevance, what does it mean to them? So yeah, for that piece, I was totally just inspired by their work. Whether you take that basic foundation, and we allow our students to build on it with other techniques, it's fine. But anything that you do, either in the concert world of dance, or you do it in musical theater, or even if you look at even video stuff today, you got to have some technique. You have to have some technique. And the one thing that we want to challenge and offer our dancers is equip them with the versatility that they will need. And if they got good technique, good ballet technique, and not all of them may not want to be in concert and do ballet work, but if they have the basic good solid technique, if they go to musical theater, if they go to videos, if they go to concert dancing, it's there. Now what they do with that after and building on other genres, other styles is one thing. But I am a firm believer that you have to have a good solid ballet technique. Again, the theater program at GCAA too has just gone under, has experienced great development. It too now has a 4-year sequential program. The staff is just absolutely awesome. I think some of the highlights too is just seeing the work that the staff is doing in terms of, Brandon Riley with the high school ensemble and Sheely with middle school ensemble, and his Shakespeare showcase that they did was just unbelievable. With Miss Matthews and building upon the whole thing of using bullying as in the theater perspective. We are really seeing an incredible growth in our students. And I mean, just recently, we had 4 students that traveled to New York to be a part of a piece called Cover that was about human trafficking. So, 4 of our students are not only doing things within the confines of Grand Center Arts Academy, but we're building these collaborations with other schools, other universities. So to have our students that are in high school now that are not even seniors to be able to do a production with a university and then to take that production to New York, I mean, that's really ultimately kind of where GCAA wants to go across the board, whether it be music or dance or theater or art or whatever. The more collaborations that we can establish and create those kind of healthy relationships, or that kind of instruction and sharing and professional experience, that our students are allowed to see their greatest potential and to see what the standard of excellence that is out there, will then reinforce their respect for the process that has to happen here. The more that they experience professional situations and experiences, the more I think that it will change and shift their mindset about some of the things that we do here. Again, wanting to jump from A to Z, but not go through B, C, D, F, G, that process. And I think when they go out and have professional experiences, the light bulb goes off. Oh, the things that they've been telling me in dance and acting classes and scene study, oh, I see. That's the same thing that the professionals was just saying. We have that now with the musical director coming in with the Wiz. He comes in and he says things, oh, and they look at me, oh, that's the same thing Mr. Keith and Mr. Sheeta was telling us. So now it's kind of making sense. They're connecting the dots, and that's kind of really what we want to do. We want to just provide the roadmap. We can't take them on the entire journey, but we can give them fundamentals, good work ethic, professionalism, respect people who come here who are professionals, and now they've kind of got that thing in place. As much as we can help develop them and get them ready, when they go and experience something, then they say, okay, I'm getting it. It's making sense for me. I think the future of dance and theater is awesome. Is I use that word a lot, actually, awesome. I think it has an incredible future. One being, isn't this what we're working for, that our students who become seniors, hope they will get scholarships to conservatories, to universities. Some may venture into the professional world right away. that begins to develop our alumni, you know, that we can speak to the investment that we've made over these 4 or 5 years that GCAA has been in existence, that we see the products of our work. You know, we see the whole part of the sequential thing is foundation, development, integration, artistic voice. That's kind of the development. And hopefully by their senior year, we know that our students will begin to develop their own artistic voice. Because we're just vessels through which the work comes, and we share it with our students, and then we expect them to take it out and hopefully in turn come back, and maybe when they do what they do, to come back and share with students here, to say, oh, we've got students, you attended GCAA, oh, now you're on Broadway, now you're doing the sitcom, now you're doing that, and you're coming back and giving back. And the whole thing is about keeping it going and playing it forward. Just play it forward. So it's a great future for our students, great future.